Hey friends, how's it going? I still hope that your Labor Day is doing and going quite well. In front of me, I have a great Neon Revolt article. It has a lot to do with, as it says, open season for White Rabbits, QAnon, Great Awakening, MK Ultra, Pizzagate, Pedogate, no more Neon Revolt. In the past two podcasts, I've hinted, I've touched on these white rabbits. Who were they? Basically, what we boiled them down to was Hillary Clinton is Alice, and the Podesta brothers were the white rabbits leading her into Saudi Arabia. That is what we broke it down to. A lot of Anons broke it down to. And that was discussed on Q post 2. But I don't want to take too much of your time tonight. This is going to be a very good podcast. And there's a lot of information. If you like this whole Pedogate stuff, if it interests you, if it really resonates with you, because it's, I don't know, it's extremely interesting. It's extremely sick, and it is sad, but it also it piques my interest because I cannot believe it exists in this world. The way that they do these things and treat these people, and why do they do it? Why do they get this adrenochrome, and so on and so forth. But we're going to figure that out tonight on True Reporting. So let's go ahead and hop into it. Right here it says, QAnon asked us recently, who are the white rabbits? Right here. Who are the white rabbits? Today we are going to find the answer. A warning before we begin. You'll recall this warning Springmeier has placed on at least one of his books. I originally posted this image in an article about the Pacers. I believe that's how it's pronounced. This is going to be a rough topic. This warning applies. Warning, read this before reading the book. If there is any chance you, the reader, have had any mind control done to you, you must consider the following book to be dangerous. If you are consulting a therapist for DID, also known as MPD, it is recommended that you consult your therapist before reading this book. The complications that could result for those under mind control learning the truth could be fatal. The co-authors take no responsibility for those who read or misuse this information. The reader's mind is like a garden. It may not be time to plant the truth in your mind. Perhaps you may need some weeding or ground preparation before the garden of your mind is ready. Perhaps the weather is too stormy to plant the truth. Pray to the Lord of the harvest. The blessing that flow from planting the information of this book in your mind will require the presence of living waters of love. If you do not have love in your heart, this book is not for you. The information contained in this book is the biggest news story of the 20th century, and still the biggest secret. It will challenge you, shock you, horrify you, and hopefully motivate you to redouble your efforts to humble yourself and seek strength from God Almighty. The stuff is real, everybody. This is not a joke. There is no shame in not reading what follows. I'd rather have you healthy and whole than risk becoming a danger to yourself and to others. So if this warning applies to you, turn back now, okay? Before we begin, we must first have a basic understanding of what MK Ultra is and what it is designed to do. At its most basic, MK Ultra is a system of abuse, ritual satanic abuse to be specific, designed to fracture the mind, to break it down. The thing is, this is not like normal abuse in the way the average person may think of it. No, this is the science of abuse. It is a focused system designed to inflict maximum pain upon a target in order to achieve a very specific, whereas the common kind of abuse you hear about in police reports and on TV usually falls under a crimes of passion label. Crimes of passion. Through heinous torture, the use of drugs and hypnosis, the mind of the victim is systematically broken as a kind of survival reaction and reshaped. The person going through the trauma disassociates in order to get through the pain and live. But in this broken state, the victim's mind becomes pliant and, to use the cabal's own terminology, programmable. The programmers, through a number of techniques, create what are known as altars in the mind of the victim. This is all true, and you can research it on your own. I've researched this almost a year ago. These are dissociative identities that are effectively walled off from each other. One alter is in charge of the body at any given time, and these alters can be triggered, that is, to make a switch and take over by different stimuli. This is where you've seen things like programmable assassins in popular media, but it goes beyond that into things like sex slaves and such, making them engage in behavior they might not otherwise choose but for the programming. The term "follow the white rabbit" obviously comes from Alice in Wonderland, but I don't think many people realize the reality behind that book. Alice was written by Lewis Carroll, real name Charles Ludwig Dodgson. Carroll was something of an English socialite, an eccentric living in Oxford. The same thing that they called the guy from England. I can't think of his name right now. And that's about the time he began hanging around the Littles. What is the guy's name? The pedophile from England. He hangs out with Jimmy Savile. Well, the Littles had a few daughters. They described him as eccentric. Well, the Littles had a few daughters, one of which was named Alice, and Carol soon became frankly obsessed. Yep, that's them, and yes, the parents knew about this. There we go. That image comes from ArtNet News, and it gets worse in their report. Was Lewis Carroll a pedophile? His photograph suggests so, ArtNet News. Carroll, whose real name was Charles Ludwig Dodgson, set up a photography studio in his room at Oxford, where he was a mathematics lecturer. There he took self-portraits and portraits of famous artists of the era like Dante Gabriel Rossetti, but photographs of children dominate his production. And amongst the most troublesome pictures, there's one that unnerved the BBC experts particularly. It is an image of a pubescent girl called Lorena Little, in the nude in a full frontal pose described in the documentary as an image that no parent would have ever consented to, the Telegraph reports. The controversial photograph was found in a French museum with a note on the frame attributing it to Carroll. Lorena was the elder sister of Alice Little, the little girl who inspired the famous Alice character. My understanding is that he was in love with Alice, but he was so repressed that he never would have transgressed any boundaries, says Vanessa Tate, great-granddaughter of Alice Liddell, in the documentary. She adds that the explicit photograph may explain the rift that made Carroll break contact with Liddell girls in 1863, when Alice was 11 years old. Crucially, Carroll's diaries from April 1858 to May 1862, a period which coincides with friendship with the Liddell girls, are missing. And back to Neon Revolt. And this wasn't the only time he would do this. After the falling out with the Liddells, he would move on to other young girls such as Beatrice Hatch, whom he sketched nude in 1873. And we can click on that. It's not offensive. This is the picture right here, Beatrice Hatch. It is offensive, but there's nothing in there. There's no nudity or anything like that. Meaning no like genitals and whatnot. Apology if that link offends. I debated whether I should include that link or not, but ended up including it because it's an ancient sketch, not a photograph, and it's been in the public domain for 150 years. But the excuse was that this was all just innocent and perfectly natural, like the admiration of cherubs or whatever. And again, this was all done with knowledge of the parents. Beatrice, along with her sisters, were introduced to Dodgson through mutual acquaintances. Dodgson cultivated the friendship of many little girls, often photographing them. Dodgson friendships with these children focused on upper middle class families, making sure he did not seek very low children as friends. Very strange, right? But I think it's perfectly clear to everyone here that this was anything but innocent. There was a repeated pattern of behavior here that was very damning. And if you follow Isaac Cappy on Twitter, he also talks about this being a repeated pattern through all of these people. Therefore, we cannot ignore the pedophilic undertones in Alice in Wonderland, which are clearly relevant to the White Rabbit. The White Rabbit was a sort of guide for young Alice in the story, someone she followed around into and through Wonderland. Along those lines, I had a legionary reach out to me this past week to discuss this topic, and he had some interesting things to say. I started reading Our Life Beyond MK Ultra and found reference to the author's experience to being systematically abused for control purposes. One of the personalities is referred to as Rabbit and is associated with sexual acts performed on command. Wow. The connect to Q's White Rabbit post seems obvious to me, and that the elite have psychological abuse down to a science, so they can manipulate children into ritual sex acts. The abusers blackmail each other into secrecy, and the memory is locked behind a trauma wall for the child. Here are a few pages from that book written by one Eliza E., who claims to be an MKUltra survivor, working on reintegrating herself, a process which takes years, reintegrating herself, a process which takes years and which may never be complete. Note, she often refers to herself with plural pronouns to account for all the fractured alters she has had inside her head. She will often describe the alters as talking to themselves or having one alter reveal memories to the other alters as she attempts to reintegrate, shattering a young mind the early years. We would be well in our 40s before becoming consciously aware that other parts of us were personalities and that we had multiple personality disorder. The main front alter could not figure out these wounded and terrible parts of us, nor how when such things had occurred and how I could do such things, nor why I had these parts that wanted to do such terrible things. In the 1960s, we lived as a small child with our family in New Jersey, in an area that many years later would be revealed to have strong connections to the Illuminati. Total Mind Control Program, TMK, control with a K. Due to how we were to be used by our programmers, controllers, and handlers to subsequent years, we were systematically sexually abused from infancy through adulthood. We are still being sexually abused through the explanation for these needs to be left until later in the book, after the reader has grasped how Illuminati TMK programming affects our own continually running internal programming with program access via external forces. Warning, this page is rough and describes incestuous abuse and trauma. Okay? From infancy on, we were constantly abused and sexually traumatized to create early alters who would participate in a willing manner with their abusers, such as willingness is a direct result of systematic victimization by our programmers. There have been many, many downloads in which our alters, child, adolescent, teen, and adult, were not only participating but were instigating sexual acts and engaging enthusiastically after being triggered by our abusers. This is how programming works. Once successfully triggered, the alters are in control of our mind and body, having been completely programmed at a young age to perform sex acts that normal children don't even know of, let alone perform with enthusiasm and skill. More on this later, though, due it is integral nature in our programming, we wish to give it the necessary introduction here. Thus, our formative years were shaped by perverse acts of sex with our father and at least one of our brothers, and I suspect others within our biological family as well as outsiders. From the crib years forward, these sexual acts were combined with systematic physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual trauma and torture, electroshock, drugs, rape, drowning, suffocation, alien encounters, and abductions, near-death experiences, etc., to seal them as programming. Such techniques of what today is known as trauma-based mind control allowed our programmers to fragment and split our mind into alters that then could be programmed to use to do their bidding. And yes, please realize she is talking about an alien encounter here, but I think at the very least it's clear such events were simulated in order to inflict trauma on the young mind. You're dealing with the testimony of someone who has had their mind fractured in a way most of us can't imagine, who is attempting to heal. Please don't discard the whole testimony just because you read a line like that. She goes on in the chapter to give the names of a few alters: Infant, Jacked, and Rabbit. Rabbit, the memory of the experience that designed the rabbit personality at 3 years old was shown to us by the 3-year-old alter herself. We see her as a rabbit, what she is in our consciousness, and what we visually see her as. She never speaks verbally, and so by thought transference, she said that this experience designed her. The memory began with us looking down at a 20-degree angle on a man with blonde hair and blue eyes. Yes, some 15 feet or so away in a very large warehouse. We feel nothing at all in this part of the memory, a common dissociated state for many of our alters. We are evidently above where he is standing next to a metal cot with a bare mattress, no linens. We can still see the thin, pale red pinstripes on the cream-colored fabric, with fabric-covered buttons creating indentations. Behind him are long, high rows of large metal shelves of 3 or 4 levels. It is difficult to see exactly what these are, though sometimes we feel deeply that some of us cannot bear to know. He is chained to the cot by a 6-foot metal chain attached to a device screwed into his head. We can hear the chain against the metal frame of the cot as he moves. Blood seeps from his head. He has been beaten badly, and his clothes are bloody. He is wearing Navy-issue denims and has a blank stare on his face as if he is totally gone, disassociated. Immediately we are aware of voices and sounds of the men approaching from our right and know what is going to happen. Thanks to another alter sharing a part of the memory of what is to come, we turn our head as 4 men in navy denims come around the tall metal shelf-like structure behind the man chained to the cot. The men are talking to one another in a jovial, normal day sort of way, even laughing as they approach. We see whatever these metal shelf type structures are. We are on the on the opposite side of the cot. They are apparently on both sides. The memory ends there for a rabbit. Yet we know that the chained, beaten man is finished off in front of us. Rabbit was designed by this experiment. Oh my God. Rabbit would show us another memory of being sexually abused by a man she appeared not to know. Though she was present when we were in bed with our father sleeping with his back to us, we were very young and small, and the bed seemed so big, with him on the left side and as far as us to the right as we could get without falling off. Down the side of the bed, on the floor next to the bed, is Rabbit, who doesn't talk, but we know what she needs. She is very hungry, thirsty, and the kitchen is not far. Yet we are afraid to leave the bed. We have to get her water, so we look at the back of the sleeping man and decide to very quietly go and get a small dish of water for her. We do this with terror in our hearts because we do not want to awaken the man. The bottom drawer on the nightstand is open. It has 2 drawers, and there is some type of natural fibers in there that Rabbit has started to eat. We encourage her to get in that drawer if he wakes up. I think you get the picture. If you want to read more, you're going to have to get a copy of her book, Our Life Beyond MK Ultra, which is free if you have Kindle Unlimited. But I will point out that Rabbit is not exclusively subjected to sexual abuse. This Ultra is also subjected to horrors, watching the other man get tortured and then killed. While many alters are sexually abused, it seems to me that the Rabbit is designed to be passive and timid above all. It's a supreme victim alter, not just a sexual alter as opposed to Kitten, which we'll see in a bit. The author also has a site where she's written a number of articles and posted a number of collages she's created as part of her process of recovery. So let's take a breath and let's think of why are we talking about rabbits. We have been shown Macaulay Culkin wear rabbit ears. We have seen Alex Podesta dressing these mannequins up as rabbits. Q has mentioned over and over, follow the white rabbits. Everything is tied into this, okay? So obviously there's a lot of terminology within all of this that we do not know about, and this is just one of these collages that these people make. It's pretty sick, you know. It really is. Color collages to print of the larger images that pop up when thumbnail is clicked. So we just see, you know, these collages, and this is not for the first time I've seen this technique. Notably, it was used in Springmeier and Wheeler's book, The No, Not What They Do. Here's a quick synopsis of the book, which I previously covered in my article on the Pacers, and you'll recognize some of the terminology used here. Let's just see. This is the first volume in a series of 3, and which explains and exposes the methodologies and horrors of monarch trauma based mind control. In this book, we see a series of colored collages and explanations which describe the inner worlds of a mind control victim. Cisco Wheeler, who has spent the past 20 years recovering memories and coming out of the programming installed by her father, Dr. Black, who worked for the CIA and was an assistant to Joseph Mengele, also known as Dr. Green. So yeah, he continues to go on and talks about Dr. Black, who was one of the most infamous people. Yeah, right here, we can pick it up right here. Behind them are the blackest of evils. The victims trapped in these worlds are crying out for help. Reading and understanding these books can help us deliver them out of the mind control hell. And here's the collage she created. Here we go. So we see all these people. And just to be honest, who does this look like right here? Who does this look like right here? That looks like Bill Clinton to me. That looks like Richard Nixon to me. And that looks like maybe a Henry Kissinger. This was the image used for the chapter about the mixed symbology of white rabbits. We can read this. Central to the picture is the white rabbit, who is found in the Alice in Wonderland story. The white rabbit is set up as a master in the programming. The white rabbit has represented for the occult world the perpetuation of satanic seed. The highest level of Satanism are called Illuminati, which is a Latin for the illuminated ones. They practice the highest levels of the various types of magic, including Druidism. Around the Master Rabbits is a swirl of characters who have been interwoven into the fabric of the Illuminati's program to dominate the world. Oh my God. The girl in the picture, the kitten, and the butterfly are also part of the Illuminati's program to dominate the world, for they represent the hideous trauma-based mind control that is playing such a major part of the Illuminati's program. Over all of this is the Great Seal. The Great Seal is not merely the Great Seal of the U.S. It is vividly displays the Illuminati's control over the greatest nation on earth. The world Novus Ordo Seclorum speak of Novus Ordo, the new order that is being brought in. The great occult number 13 occurs in several places on the seal. First, the number occurs in the number of arrows, the number of leaves, and the number of pentagrams shaped into an overall pattern of a hexagram. There are 13 stripes and 13 hovering over the eagle. The eagle represents several important related occult concepts. First, the eagle was originally drawn for the Great Seal as a phoenix bird. The eagle has represented the Aryan Hittites and the tribe of Dan. The phoenix is very highly significant within the occult world, as it represents the Antichrist system arising out of the chaos of wars, revolution, and anarchy. The eagle's feathers have significance in their numbers too. One side is 33 feathers and the other is 32. The seal shows these leaders in the picture have not perpetrated the trauma-based mind control for experimentation or to fight communism, but they have perpetrated it because they themselves have made covenants with hell. All this is real, everybody. The mind of the cat altar in the picture hears the conversation of the past, bone to bone, flesh to flesh, spirit to spirit, forever together, never apart. This is part of an oath that the mothers of the darkness and the Illuminati kingpins would make. It was the type of oath that drew people into oneness. The oath is remembered along with other events such as the key to open a green box is a ring, the open green box with kill box, then kneel face to face, draw a circle, join a 4-person team, hand in ring, clasp, blue, then say star with a star, circle with a circle, mind with a mind, body with a body, soul with a soul, then repeat 4 times. Come to Papa Kitten, come and play hide and seek, come play with me. Kitten, you are the one I seek. Seek and you will find me. Come to Papa Kitten. Come lick, scratch, and bite. Purr, purr, purr. Oh my God. So this is referring to this picture here. Kitten right there. Sick stuff, guys. Volume 1, Springmeier Illuminati Mind Control. They know not what they do. NWO Freemasons. Free download. So you can definitely get this too. And here we see the programmer victim dichotomy. One second. White rabbits are the guides, the programmers who create rabbit altars and victims. Do the images of the art by Alex Podesta that Q posted now make more sense? Right? We see here in the White Rabbits playing with a kid, a baby rabbit. Pass drop's important. These people all need to be eliminated. Those who know cannot sleep. Absolutely. Note the scissors on the ear of the stuffed rabbit. Note the blindfolds, the baseball bat, and the rope. Springmeier would continue in Volume 2 of the Illuminati Formula to describe how these white rabbits operate and where they come from. Understanding the programmers, many men have contributed to the research of trauma-based mind control. The men who learned how to torture during the ancient Babylonian days, during the Roman days, and during the medieval days passed their secrets to the rulers of the secret mystery religions. Here we go, we're getting deeper. Some of the 13 Illuminati bloodlines trace their history back to the ancient times of Babylon. Because the programmers are driven by the spirit world, they are very jealous and competitive towards each other. It is a dog-eat-dog world amongst them. The demonic forces within them are in competition too. Yes, the programmers have had their friction, their jealousies, and their power struggles with each other. Some of these inner battles have been fought with and over their mind control slaves. When the two programmers work on a single slave, they might both put in their own secret back doors to ensure that the slave remains loyal to himself rather than the other programmer. There has always been ongoing tension between the half-blooded and full-blooded Illuminati programmers, because each of the various programming centers specializes in perhaps a dozen types of programming. Programmers go to different programming centers. The props of the scripts are often kept at the programming centers. The programmers will dress according to the script they are given to the victims, which might mean they may be dressed as the Wizard of Oz, a Nazi, a doctor in a white coat, a white rabbit costume, a Kerrigan sweater as Mr. Rogers, or in the nude. One of the most cruelest evil geniuses recent times was Dr. Mengele. Dr. Mengele used 3,000 twins during the time of 1943 and 1944 for research. Most of these twins died. The twins were chosen out of a vast number of people who were brought to the German concentration camps. By the time World War II ended, Mengele knew a great deal about how to torture children in order to get them to bond totally with him. Even today, some of the survivors of his horrible experience believe that Mengele loved children. They loved him as their father. Mengele also developed the ability to create artificial twinning between two people. Mengele carried his violin with him when he came onto military bases. His violin hid his color bands and probes for color programming. Other men worked with Dr. Mengele and soon became programmers in their own right. Dr. Cameron of Canada became a monarch mind-controlled slave programmer known as Dr. White. Another programmer who was not a full-blooded generational Satanist was Gog, known as Dr. Blue. Remember I spoke of Dr. Black earlier. Lived in the Northwest area and has two sons. Their programming and cult nicknames are Teddy Bear, Theodore, and Robin Hood, Michael. Two programmers known successively as Dr. Black are LW and WB. A protege of LW is Ed Hummel, who worked in states such as Texas and Oregon. Ed was originally from Texas. WB were originally from Oklahoma. Before they began working in the Northwest, two of the most ruthless programmers on the West Coast are Jerry Lee Lewis and Michael Aquino. These two men are as cold-blooded as they come, ranking right beside Mengele in their ability to torture. Oh my God. So yeah, these people, standard roles within... Oh, I'm sorry. He would go on to make a list of all the different kinds of altars that he knew could be programmed into victims. He would talk about many of these at length, but there's just the bulletin list of altars with their brief description for convenience sake. Yeah, so we can, scan through these. Alien altars for contact, bonding with aliens, and acceptance for mock alien invasion. Angel imitation, angry altars. What was that? That was crazy. Assassination altars, babysitter altars, justice altars, gatekeeper, foreign language, martial arts, everything you can think of, reporting, sexual altars, kittens for porn, S&M, etc., travel altars, suicide altars, full text. Volume 2, Springmeier Illuminati, Mind Control, Slaved, Original NWO Illuminati, Freemasons, MK Ultra Monarch. So, he would even then go on to list a number of known MK Ultra programmers from his time. This is so crazy. Morse Allen, Lieutenant Colonel John Alexander, Richard Dabney Anderson, Michael Aquino, program cover name Malcolm, also known to some children as Mickey. Betty Ford is his mother. See, it's just all these. Oh, it's so creepy. A lot of these are Rothschilds. Dr. Mears, program cover name The Jolly Green Giant. Mengele, program name Dr. Green. We went over that. Theodore, son of Henrik Mueller, program cover name Teddy Bear. So what does this all remind you of? This reminds me of the NXIVM cult. This also, when you think, I've told you guys to look into this. If you go and you look at all the names of the people that are intertwined within our government, they're all related. All of them are related. It is so weird. They're all related. And just to test this out, I just pulled one of the names at random and ran a search on it, and, well, take a look. Sidney Gottlieb. Sidney Gottlieb, born Joseph Schneider, August 3rd, 1918, March 7, 1999, was an American chemist spymaster known for his involvement in Central Intelligence Agencies. See, he just picked a random name, and that's what he got, a Central Intelligence Agency CIA member. As a poison expert, he headed the chemical division of the Technical Service Branch. Gottlieb became known as the Black Sorcerer and the Dirty Trickster. He supervised preparations of lethal poison and drug experiments and mind control. Like he said, he just went and picked a random one. That's just a sample of that entry. Go read the entire thing. It's a trip. And this is the thing. People forget that MKUltra isn't a conspiracy theory. It's something that has been disclosed on official reports and testimony. The 1999 LA Times obituary for Gottlieb lists CIA scientist John Gittinger as Gottlieb's close friend. James Bond had Q, the scientific wizard who supplied 007 with dazzling gadgets to deploy them. The Central Intelligence Agency had Sidney Gottlieb, a Bronx-born biochemist. So they're basically saying the same name. His, I guess, breakdown was his best friend. And notably, Fiona Barnett lists Gittinger as one of her abusers in her most recent article, along with Anthony Kidman. Billy Graham and Jim Rothstein. Right here, I spoke with James Rothstein. I asked whether he knew that Nixon was a pedophile. He said he had not. I asked him whether he knew about Billy Graham being a pedophile. He responded empathetically that he and his colleagues had heard lots about him. No one in Australia knows about this level of trafficking. No one understands the link between pedophilia and mind control and ritual abuse, and this is what I'm trying to expose. My book will be the first of its kind if, God willing, I get it out there. My VIP perpetrators include CIA head psychologist Anthony Kidman, Nicole Kidman's father, who worked for the CIA under Gittinger. All these people are Nazis too, man. Kim Beazley, senior politician, ASIO's child trafficking coordinator. Prime Minister, President Richard Nixon, I knew it. I knew that was him. Billy Graham drugged and raped me at Bohemian Grove. Told me his buddy Richard Nixon recommended me to him. Ted Turner. Wow. This is not an extensive list, just the big names. I also witnessed a bunch of other VIPs attend ritual murders. I witnessed Queen Elizabeth preside over a Luciferian ritual at the main Church of England Cathedral in Sydney when I was 11 years old. For the record, a grand dame is a mother of darkness, something we've talked about previously as well. Also on Springmeier's list, Michael Aquino, founder of the Temple of Set. You might not recognize the name, but you'll definitely recognize the eyebrows. Yeah, freaky. I swear to God, these people aren't human. He was the one who allegedly abused Kathy O'Brien. You can check that video out. I'll put it in the description below. And another name, Anthony Kidman. Yeah, that's Nicole Kidman's father. This is a claim Bartnet has constantly made many times over the years, catching a lot of flack for this claim, and once wrote of him. Dr. Anthony Kidman was trained by Gittinger and others in his employment of torture, unethical hypnosis, and drugs to artificially induce a state of disassociation in children. He also was in a kitty-killing club. His MKUltra programming was structured on a pentagram, the same emblem that featured in his inner Sydney City cult, and Kidman's local Order of the Easter Star Freemasons Lodge that burned down immediately after I first went public. And again, when we see the theme of using art as means of recovery and reintegration, because Bartnett did a series of drawing depicting the abuse that she suffered at the hands of Gettinger and Kidman, among others. Fiona Bartnett is the author, and these are her pictures as a child, abuse drawings. I expect this because I get up to 100,000 views per day on this page. Each time they disappear, alert me in the comment section to this page and I will restore them. And this makes Nicole Kidman appearance in Eyes Wide Shut all the more striking. Well, that and the fact that she's probably one of the bloodlines. What with her family being on top, one of the top 10 landowners in the world, also think of Tom Cruise. But then again, Sedan did tell us about Kubrick. You know, basically, he'll tell us. And again, remember Kubrick's earlier film. How did they ever make a movie of Lolita? Then we see here, Lolita. I no longer think Kubrick was disclosing anything to us with Eyes Wide Shut. I think he was part of it all, that he revealed it, even shoving it in our faces as much as he could, edging the world towards greater acceptance, hiding their perversions in art. Why? Because the White Rabbits, the programmers, the masterminds behind all of this are truly sick individuals. They are evil men drawing little kids down hellish paths, destroying their bodies, crippling their minds, traumatizing them for life, all for their own sick gratification. Q, please, I hope you let your operators declare open season on the White Rabbits very soon. This kind of thing has to stop. And that is it for the podcast. If you are unfamiliar with Neon Revolt, please go to neonrevolt.com. I am sending all foot traffic to his site. Please donate to his Gab and buy some merch too. If you are unaware, I also have a Twitter account. Please follow me at True Reporting. And if you would care to donate to my Patreon, all donations go to merch. Any donations $10 or more will get you free shipping on t-shirts, which will come out mid-September. I think you will like them, guys. I basically just did a marathon of podcasts. Please leave a like. I really, really appreciate those. The more likes that this video gets, the more opportunity it has to be put in another algorithm, thus more eyes on the truth. That is it for me, guys. I really enjoyed today. I'm a little tired. But anyways, I hope you had a great Labor Day, and I will check back with you probably Wednesday. And we're going to do, let's do a live stream here in about 45 minutes, 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock, just like I promised, guys. We'll talk to you soon.